Hey guys, what's going on? It's Salvage here, and today we are doing episode 3 of the KnightsCast podcast featuring me, Jake, and of course Slickmoff. And we are all here to talk about the new previews. Or we're not actually all here. I'm sorry,
Yeah, we're
Jake's not
not.
here, but
Jake is a
Kobe's here.
traitor.
Kobe is Jake is he's on a bad timing right now.
Listen,
That's all I
don't
gotta say.
mention that I wasn't in the first 2 episodes, but the real traitor, all of your animus should be directed towards Jake Irogen because he's
You've
like
been away
working or
for you've
something.
been away
Who?
for a second.
Listen,
No, look, I'm gonna be honest. You've been working for a few months, Kobe. You can't be talking smack about Jake. He's been on the
listen,
grind for the last
listen, listen. But I'm hitting
weeks.
my stride at just the right time. I'm getting my stride just at the right time. It's October 8th. It's time to do this. I'm feeling good.
Yep, yep. You're right. You're right. So yeah, today we're gonna be talking about the previews, the hands-on experience that like dozens of I can't even count how many people play this game, but like people I've never even heard of have played this game for like more than 3 hours, and they all kind of talked about it and they all gave their impressions. And I think that a few of them are kind of like samey, like a lot of them are kind of like the same impressions. Have you seen like any of them whatsoever?
I have. I've seen some of them, and I, for one, am just surprised that you and I don't get invited to these things, Salvage. I don't get it because look, I only called Rocksteady Scam Steady one time. Okay, it was just once. It was one DLC. I did call them Scam Steady. It was a bit much. I was 16 though. Come on, guys. It was a long time ago. I am a perfectly reasonable person. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I thought that what they showed and some of the things that they kind of looked at this preview all looked really good. A couple of things that I've already eaten my words on. One thing is I was talking a lot of mad shit about how there wasn't going to be civilians walking around the map, and in a lot of the gameplay that I looked at, it looked like there was a lot of civilians. The city looked pretty populated, so I will eat my words on that. The second thing is, one thing that impressed me is that I feel like this is the first time we've actually seen Batbike gameplay, and we saw a little bit of the tease of the racing mode. That's not that dissimilar from like the AR challenges in Arkham Knight for the Batbike, and that looks really fun, to be honest. And thirdly, the free roam in the game just it does look really good. Some things in the traversal are a bit weird. For instance, Red Hood like humping the air to propel forward, a bit bizarre. But other than that, I thought the free roam gameplay looked excellent. The city looked populated with civilians. The Harley Quinn boss fight still looks just okay. And frankly, I haven't been super impressed by any of the boss fights that I've seen. I wasn't a big fan of the Mr. Freeze boss fight that they showed all the way back in 2020 either. And the Harley Quinn boss fight also didn't really impress me, to be honest. But it's also tricky developing a boss fight for both single player and co-op, honestly. Like, imagine making the Mr. Freeze boss fight in Arkham City and making it around 2 people instead of 1. Like, that would be very difficult to develop. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious. What are your kind of those are a few of my key takeaways of things that I've maybe changed my mind on. Overall, I would say I was impressed with a lot of the things that I saw, and it made me more excited for the game. So that accomplished their goal.
So for me, it didn't really necessarily impress me. It just reinforced everything that I thought was going to be about the game. Everybody that I've seen talk about the game, or most of the people that I've seen, were like, "Oh, this is a good game, but it's nothing that like blew me away. It's nothing that blew my mind." And like, I literally heard that about this game 7 times. I literally was going back to back from videos, and I kept hearing that phrase. I'm like, "Wow, people really think that about this game." Even Caboose said that to some extent. I'm like, "What?" He usually
What did he
says
say?
anything about this game.
What did he say?
He said that this like a lot of them were saying that it didn't blow them away, that they were like, it's an okay game, like, basically like saying that's like a 7 out of 10, which reinforces my opinion about it, saying that the combat is very slow and clunky and hard to kind of get into and awkward because of Arkham, and trying to like relearn it in certain aspects, but also just the gameplay in general. Even if you don't compare it to Arkham, it's like just sloppy and kind of like kind of slow and clunky, and that's something that I was afraid of happening for this game. Also, the traversal stuff, there's just like that teleporting stuff for Robin. If that's all we're getting for Robin, it is kind of disheartening, because if he's just teleporting for like 10 seconds at a time, that's going to be one of the most boring free roaming aspects of Robin.
Oh, it's
Nobody's going to want to
super
really play
boring,
him.
bro.
It's so stupid. And the Red Hood stuff, I think that's kind of goofy. I think it's going to grow into me, because a lot of people were saying that Red Hood was like, the big takeaway that I got from this was that Red Hood is underrated, and that he's actually one of the funner characters, between all four of them,
What?
which was like shocking to hear. Yeah, I heard that like 4 different times. I'm like, Red
Dude, he
Hood's a
just
fun
looks
one.
like
Okay,
Deathstroke
because they
from
could do
Injustice 2 on steroids with the rage band. Like that looks like how you play
yeah,
him to me,
and
but
yeah, when you're just like spamming them. But there's also I saw some of the light attacks and stuff, and the way that people chained his combos together. He does look like he's kind of fun, but
okay.
you know, I heard that was one of the key aspects. And I thought that was pretty interesting, and just the overall story was decent, but I don't know what these guys' quality is for decent is because the cutscenes that we've seen so far, if that's like the indicative of the story, I don't think it's going to be a 10 out of 10 story. I think it's going to be like a mid story that I'm expecting. So my expectations are right in the middle. Like I'm not expecting anything great, but I don't think I'm expecting anything shit either. Like this is gonna be a game that holds me over until Suicide Squad, and that's all I need. Like honestly, I don't think this game needs to impress me too much. It just needs to do its job and have a really fun story. So if it has a good story and the game plays decent, then I'm all for it. And I think that's what most of everybody has been saying the game basically is. So I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I kind of noticed about this game is that Warner Brothers Games Montreal seems hell bent on not making something similar to Arkham. It kind of seems like they're really intentional about, well, Batman's not in this game, and the combat is completely different. We're not copying the free flow combat because I could have also seen a world wherein they just used these four characters and replicated the Arkham free flow style combat system. But the combat in this game resembles Spider-Man PS4 much more so than Batman Arkham, which is not bad or good necessarily. I just think it demonstrates that they're really, really trying to differentiate themselves from Rocksteady and Batman Arkham because of the critique of Batman Arkham Origins, of course, is that it didn't innovate enough and that there wasn't enough new things and new changes with it. But then there was a lot of people that said, well, the story is great. It's perhaps the best of the four, some would say. I wouldn't say that, but I would say it's up there. And um, what I would notice as well about this game and the design philosophy is, again, the combat does seem more resembling Spider-Man PS4, which I guess is the most recent superhero franchise. So it's kind of copying that in some sense, but very, very interesting that they would go in that direction, um, given that they have that formula of Batman Arkham that they could have relied upon. But more than that, I do think that the traversal is a bit of a concern. The main thing that I'm most excited about for this game is to be able to play through an original story. And that's something that we haven't been able to do for almost a decade now, putting aside Injustice. And that's what I'm most looking forward to in this game is, to your point, I actually don't think that the gameplay is the main appeal necessarily to the game overall. I would agree. The gameplay looks like a solid 7 out of 10, which is certainly respectable enough to want to play. And here's the thing, there are a lot of games that have fantastic storylines that don't necessarily have the best gameplay. I don't think that The Last of Us has great gameplay. I would also give that around a 7 out of 10.
Mhm.
That might be a controversial. I might get like skewered for that in the comments, but I would say Batman Arkham is at a 9, let's say, in terms of combat fluidity and just fun replayability. Spider-Man PS4, I would also put it a 9. I would say this game and this game and Last of Us are somewhere around like a 7 in terms of just general fun factor in the gameplay. And with gameplay, you're really
I
looking
have a
for
question.
replayability. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you rate Avengers?
That is a good question. God, I hate that game with
Because
a
I
passion.
feel like Avengers is closer to this game than anything else. To like
You think
Spider-Man.
it's
It
closer to
feels
this
like
than
a
Spider-Man?
it feels like a choppy version of like Spider-Man and Avengers clumped together. Because you have the superheroes that you run around with that have like their ultimate abilities, and they all have health bars and shit like that. It's gonna feel more similar to Avengers, I believe, than Spider-Man. Yeah, feel it's Spider-Man has that fluidity, and that's like almost like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, because it's just you got to do so much. But
Right.
like with Gotham Knights, it's more grounded. Um, you have again those special abilities, and everything just feels a little slower and clunkier, kind of like Avengers did. So I feel like and I said this in my last video that yeah, you could tell that they canceled 3 games. Like now, you can kind of tell that they canceled 3 games within their development, even though this game looks good. You could tell that during the development cycle there was trouble somewhere along the line, and it's pretty apparent here. So I mean, I just want to make that Avengers one because I think I think you missed it because you hate it so much.
Yeah, God, I hate that game. It's so terrible. I would probably give the game like a 5 in terms of gameplay. But you do raise an interesting point
Okay.
about the gameplay more broadly and this game is that it is interesting to see the impact of the prior game that they were working on this game, which of course, like the Damian Wayne Batman game, with the obscure villains, and on top of that, there are just even other things like the Bat family being featured instead of Batman, Batman being dead, um, a few different things in the city, and also Court of Owls, of course, were part of that game too. So it's very interesting to see how that game was ultimately canceled, but certain like themes and dynamics of I think that the Court of Owls might have been the main villain for that game too, and they just kind of repackaged it and reformulated their ideas for the Court of Owls for the Gotham Knights game and built it up that way. That's something that I've consistently noticed in the game
Yeah.
is that the previous canceled Damian Wayne Batman game, even all the way down by the way to the Batbike being the main vehicle of mobility, if you recall from the concept art. Um, it's very interesting to see the impact that that game had on this game, even though they're obviously very different games.
Yeah. Um, have you heard about the I mean we could keep talking about the previews and about people's reaction about it, but
Yeah,
have you
let's
seen
let's talk about people's
the most
reaction.
recent leak?
Let's
Okay, yeah,
let's
go
talk
ahead.
about people's reaction before the leak. What do you think in terms of the? Actually, maybe we shouldn't talk about the leak because Degenerate J got a copyright strike from WB.
Yeah,
So let's
that
not
is
talk
true.
about
I didn't
it.
even really I didn't even talk about it either. Like I slightly like implied what it was, but I never really said what it was because I figured that they were going around and striking. But it's a big leak, and it's like it really does like it's just so fucking stupid. It's hard to explain. But yeah, let's talk about people's reactions to the
Yeah, what have you seen on Twitter, and how
overall.
have people in your fan base been reacting to all this?
I think, you know, it's again more of the same. Like it's just kind of getting more reinforced like what this game actually is, which is it's not anything like too special, even though it might be good and it might be really, really fun. It's like a lot of people are really seeing it for what it is. And I think they're just kind of accepting what it is. And that's a good thing. It's like the game's getting a little bit more positive reinforcement because of what's you know the reaction of most of these YouTubers and media people, which is like, oh, it's decent. So I mean, other people like other fan bases and stuff like that. I'm kind of like, oh shit, we got Ironjin in here, Jake.
Yo,
What's
what's
up, Jake?
up?
Hey,
What's
there he
up?
is.
Can you guys hear
Hey,
me okay?
Yeah, we can.
yeah, we hear you.
Perfect.
Jake, we're talking to, also.
Okay.
How's your day been?
Oh, it has been busy, but
I
thank you for
bet.
asking. It's been good. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, we're talking about the previews and how everyone's responded to the previews and
Yeah,
how basically just what the reaction has been like online to it.
yeah, absolutely.
So Salvo, sorry, finish what you were
So
saying.
no. I want to hear Jake's reaction if he's ready. I
Yeah.
want to know
Yeah, go
what
ahead, Jake.
you think about the previews and like what we saw and what we heard from many people that played the game for like multiple hours.
Yeah, I thought that it was super interesting. And by the way, if I sound kind of sick, it's because I've had a ridiculous head cold this week and I'm still getting over it. But it also that started on the worst day, which was when all the previews were. That was like the best day that I could have uploaded videos about it. But Um,
Yeah.
basically, my takeaway from it is I think that like it seems like people were walking away from playing this game with kind of the same opinion that they had before they played it, which is like, yeah, there's things that I really like and things that kind of concern me. I think that what was interesting though is those things kind of seemed to change a bit over the course of the preview. Like certain things that people thought would be more solid have become more of the concerns, and people that were like really concerned about, like, for example, the combat kind of walked away saying, it feels more like the free flow Arkham combat than I thought it would. Overall, I think that what's really hard with the previews is that Warner Brothers Games Montreal has been so secretive with the game's story and with like just so much of even the side missions. Like the preview that everyone was allowed to experience, I don't think really encapsulated the Gotham Knights experience. And so I think in terms of the fundamental gameplay, like again, combat, there's like kind of that basic idea that people got coming away from it. But again, like the things that I think are really gonna make or break Gotham Knights, like the story, those haven't been experienced really in any capacity yet. I remember when Spider-Man had previews going on, people were able to play like the first 4 hours of the story. Not the case here. They played like the first 20 minutes and then got to do some of the Harley Quinn mission. So overall, I think that it's in many ways better than a lot of people anticipated, and that, you know, it's not sounding like the combat is like Avengers level bad or anything. It's sounding like it's pretty close to Arkham, you know, just a little bit different. And then I mean, Gotham sounds great. It sounds like the open world is really fun to explore. So overall, you know, the previews, in my opinion, sound promising, but also I don't think that it seals the deal on it being a great game either. I think that main story and some of the customization aspects are like if those are handled really well, I think we're going to have a hit. And otherwise, I think that we'll have like, you know, a pretty good game that is worth, you know, the like 50% off sale that I'm sure will happen within the next year or so.
Yeah, so basically you had most of our opinions that we were
No.
talking about before you got
You
here. The
said
only
that
thing
the
that was
gameplay is on
the only
Avengers
different thing.
level.
No, I was about to say something. I was going to say that,
Okay.
yeah, we said that the Avengers, I didn't say that it will be. I said that it might be. And that, yeah, people are comparing it to Arkham a lot. So it might kind of like be kind of discouraged by many people because of that. And like saying that, oh, yeah, the Arkham games are better. So it might bring it down a little bit when people start playing all the way through it for a longer period of time than just 3 hours. But I think that, you know, it will be better than the Avengers. I mean, it looks like it is funner than the Avengers. I'm not gonna lie. But besides that, I mean, yeah, pretty much, you know, it's a decent game, or it looks like it's a decent game. Is pretty much what we were saying. So, uh, yeah, a lot of people have been saying that in my fan base as well, and that's basically been the overall reaction that I've been seeing for most people. Is that, yeah, it's gonna be good.
I think the tricky thing that I'll add to, like, you know, the differences in Arkham versus this game, and I know that there's so many people out there who are like, do not compare it to Arkham, it's a different thing. Well, I'm sorry, this is like essentially the follow-up to Arkham Knight. Excuse me. It's like, yes, it's a different iteration of Batman, but it's still the next Batman game. Like, I feel like a really fair comparison would be like, you know, when the next James Bond movie comes out, we're all going to compare it to the Daniel Craig James Bonds. Like, I don't think it's fair to say, no, you can't judge it based on like anything that came before. I think, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, maybe unfortunately for Gotham Knights, I think that the Arkham games are just such a great iteration of Batman that to like then expect us to go into this without remembering Arkham or without taking into account everything we love about Arkham, you know, I don't think that's a really fair expectation. So, of course, there's going to be the Arkham comparisons. And I think so far, when it's lined up directly against Arkham, I think that it, you know, it does some things better so far, and it does some things, you know, not necessarily as good or don't appear to look quite as
What
good.
do you think it does better?
I think in terms of the customization and the dual co-op, those are things that we didn't see in Arkham at all. I think this is one that's somewhat controversial. I do think this game looks in many ways better graphically, although I will say that
I
the
agree.
the art style is debatable, but the textures, the models, they look very good. Um,
I gotta say one thing real quick.
yeah, go for it.
I think compared to Arkham, the combat also looks flashier. Even though it doesn't
Yeah,
look as smooth, it looks more realistic. And even Arkham City is kind of like that, where it's like kind of slow, where you're running up to people and you're telegraphing.
yeah,
And I remember talking to the fan, and he was like, "There's this one move where you elbow somebody, but it takes like forever, and there's an enemy that hits you." I see that all the time in the Gotham Knights gameplay, and that pisses me off. But there's a level of realism there where you have to time your shots correctly and move out of the way
yeah,
properly. So
yeah.
I kind of agree that sometimes it looks better.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing with the free flow combat system is it's so good, and with that being said, I mean it's been used in every action RPG. Well, not necessarily RPG, but it's been used in every like big action game since 2009. So even like I love like even if the free flow combat system ends up being better, I think I'll appreciate having a somewhat new combat system to try out. But like the other thing that Gotham Knights seems to be knocking out of the park, that it's something I don't think Arkham necessarily can compare to, is the side missions. Like all the Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze stuff, that's all side content. That's not even part of the main story. But to see these like really long drawn out villain quests, I think is awesome. So I think in terms of longevity, after you've completed the main campaign, Gotham will feel more alive. But I think that the trade-off for that is that when you introduce some of those mechanics that work better than the Arkham games, like when you introduce co-op and when you introduce like you can play as 4 different characters throughout the entire game, then you lose some of the refinement that came with getting to design a game for a single character. So like with Batman, he has, he fights in a very particular way. And so they were able to make a very elaborate combat system for Batman, very direct traversal system for Batman, and an open world that
To be
accommodated that
fair,
specific. Sorry, what's that?
there are a lot of if you saw there's a few videos that show that there's like a bunch of skill trees for each of the characters that
Exactly.
kind of do that, but in many ways they're not as, I mean, I wouldn't call them expansive, but they're basically what they take the basic moves and just do little adjustments to them and make them flashier. So
Yeah.
compared to Arkham, I don't even really know. I don't know. It's hard to explain because Batman, is just that only character that you play. Besides Arkham City, you do play through Catwoman a few times and you get to like level her up a few times. But
Yeah,
besides
that's
that,
true.
like Batman's the only one you level up and you really do flush him out. And I hope you get that same feeling when you play through Gotham Knights with at least one character. Because I feel like most people are going to play through most of like, their first playthrough or like their second playthrough is like, the same character throughout the entire playthrough. So I'm sure that they'll make sure that, you want to flush them out and give you
Yeah.
enough like, abilities to release those skill points and really make your thing special. It's raining here, so if you hear the floods, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're good. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I think that what we're looking at with Gotham Knights is it's just such a different game model from Arkham. And I think that's what's really been kind of the blessing and the curse of this game. And I think that it's why they've had such a hard time selling people on it, is that it's not really what people expected for the next big Batman game. And there's a lot that I think is really awesome about it. But again, like when you're introducing multiplayer, that does change the level design. And when you are introducing like, oh, you can play as 4 characters who all traverse differently, who all fight differently, then yeah, the combat and traversal are going to look very different for, in terms of that. And you might lose some of the refinement that came with getting to just have that luxury of only having to design it around one character. So I think it kind of just comes down to like, you can't really put everything into a single game, and this is just trying to hit different marks than the Arkham games. Now the thing is, like, in many ways it feels like a direct response to Arkham Knight, because a lot of the criticisms of that game have been addressed here. Like, you still have the vehicular transportation, but there's no tank mode, and like there's boss battles again, and you get to play as the Bat family, and free roam as them. So it in a lot of ways it feels like it's taking a lot of those fan requests and putting them into a game. So I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I've been getting from those previews, is just like, there seems to be a lot that works, but there's also a lot that worked really well in the Arkham games that hasn't quite made the jump to this game. And so I think that there are mechanics that will be missed, but then I also think that there's going to be a lot that people are really excited about.
On top of that, here's one thing that I think that this game appears to do better than Arkham, and that is actually narrative, character-driven moments and cutscenes. And if you look at Asylum, City, and Night, and Origins to some extent, although Origins made a lot of leaps in this area, there's not as much character development as you would otherwise think. The Bat family is not in the game very much in the case of Asylum and City. In the case of Night, they're used more as plot devices. Like Barbara Gordon, for instance, her role in the game is more to like advance Scarecrow's plot in many ways. And in this game, you see these like character moments in these cutscenes where the characters are just hanging out in the belfry and that sort of thing. And that's another way in which the game to me, resembles much more of Spider-Man PS4 in regards to the structure and general cadence of the game, because Spider-Man PS4 was exactly the same, where it had these CGI cutscenes that are not done by voice actors. I mean, they're voice actors, but they're actually doing like the mocap and everything. They're acting the scenes out, and that's exactly what they did with Spider-Man PS4, and that made the game feel much more like a movie. And then the gameplay, obviously, on top of that. Whereas Arkham, because of the time it was made between like 2009 and 2015, video games weren't really doing that. Spider-Man PS4 was the first superhero video game to kind of have cutscenes that looked closer to a Last of Us type of game experience than again a Batman Arkham sort of cutscene experience. And again, Arkham Knight is, they did a really good job with making the cutscenes very like photorealistic, and it just wasn't quite there yet compared to what Last of Us 2 and Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales ended up doing a couple of years later. And in this game, they're pulling more from the more recent game dev model of having these hyper realistic mocap acted out cutscenes. And I'm really excited for that, because that is one of my chief critiques of the Arkham games, is that you don't get that many character moments. In other words, like in most of the games, there isn't really a character arc for Batman. He's kind of he's perfect at the start of the game, and he's perfect at the end of it. Like, he's morally infallible, and it's just kind of a perfect character, which isn't bad necessarily. It's just they don't really explore much of the character in City and Asylum in particular. And I'm really interested to see that, and to see more about how the character dynamics sort of play out in this game.
While I agree to an extent, I would think it would do a lot better if the cutscenes didn't look like they were from NBA 2K14. In my opinion, some of them look a little rough around the edges.
They
The
do.
one with Barbara Gordon and Nightwing, when it
Yeah.
starts off with Barbara like lifting weights, like there's like
Yeah.
that 30-second moment of silence. There's just a lot of cringy moments, and it doesn't look that good even with motion capture. So I really hope that throughout the entire game, if they stick to that and it looks like that most of the game, but it's like done in a self-aware way, like I'll be okay with that. And that actually does lead me to saying that those moments are going to be a lot more impactful than Arkham, because we're going to, at least see some type of character growth within those cutscenes. At least, we can assume that. So there are going to be moments, because Batman is pretty static within the Arkham games, besides Arkham Origins, where he's like, oh, I have to work alone in the beginning, and then like at the end he has to, he learns to work with people. That's basically his character arc in Arkham Origins. But besides that, in the Arkham games, that's about it. You get sick in Arkham City. I can't really think about the other ones because they're not even really present. But in these games, hopefully they do have really fleshed out arcs. I think the developers have already said that they do have fleshed out arcs. Even the villains that we fight have fleshed out arcs. And I just want to say a quick spoiler warning. This isn't a leak or anything. It's more of a rumor. It's actually from, can I say this, Kobe? It's from the trophies that they released.
No, don't. No, don't.
No, nothing.
No, not if it's a spoiler. I don't want to know.
It's more of the villains, but okay.
Yeah, let's pass on it.
The only reason I agree with Kobe on not sharing anything is just I've seen some people get copyright striked for talking about it, so I just don't want to risk that for anyone.
I just didn't know if the trophies were the ones that were copyrighted, because they were already kind of out there.
I don't think they are.
Xbox version.
Yeah, I know a few people that got. I think it was the
I
other
think
big leak.
there's another leak. There's a big leak, but I don't know if they were together. I don't think they were together. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
but the villains have been like known to be low-key lackluster from the trophies, is all I'm gonna say. I'm not saying that the leaks are showing like the villains, but from what we know about the villains, it seems like it's gonna be it's not a bad thing. But the villains also have arcs, and I think those arcs are going to be very long, like longer than we expect throughout the game, and are really going to pad out the villains, like each ones that we see, like Clayface, Harley, and Mr. Freeze. I don't feel like they're gonna do a lot of villains, in my opinion, is what I'm saying.
So I saw the trophy list as well. And I like, again, not going into what it actually pertained to, but I'm not sure if like it's a complete trophy list or if it's just I'm not sure, but I'd have to agree with
It
you.
seems easy. It seems super small.
I was like kind of surprised because like basically it has the villains that we've seen in the trailers, and then it had like kind of hints at like 2 or 3 more, but then that was kind of it. And so yeah, I'm kind of
Yeah.
with you in that, like, I don't know if it is like really there just aren't tons of villains in the game. I don't know if we have like
And
an
also,
incomplete trophy list, but yeah.
there's another thing is that the game is only 43 gigabytes long, or 40 big gigabytes in, like, file size. So it, like, Kobe, in your experience, is that like a really expansive game, or does that seem like something that's a little bit shorter?
It seems like shorter. I mean, shit. When I play Call of Duty these days, is 100 gigabytes, and that there's nothing to that game in terms of like
God of
substance.
War
So
and God of War PlayStation 4 is 90, and that's supposed to be
yeah,
a 60-hour
Yeah.
game.
but I
I
think a
just
lot of it has to do with the graphic fidelity as it pertains to the being extremely photorealistic. Although I'm not an expert in this area, I shouldn't be saying this, but like I think of a game like The Last of Us, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense that that game is like 100 gigs because it's just like so big and everything is so pristine in terms of the graphics. Whereas this game is not in any way like gonna win best graphics of the year or anything like that. Obviously.
I'm just going to be disappointed because they've kept
Yeah.
like if it's really short, because they've kept saying you can't beat this in a weekend. Like it takes forever to beat. So like I'm going to be mad if I pop this in and I'm done in like 8 hours, like with Arkham Asylum. I'm like, that was it. Okay.
I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah.
And also just
I
because
think
the
they
game
padded
took
it out
five
with
and a half
a
years
lot
to
of the
develop.
side missions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the game took 5.5 years to develop too. I do kind of expect like a 30-hour game, TBH.
Yeah. So Kobe,
I've heard it's only 15 to 20 hours.
really?
Even that would be better than like 8.
Yeah.
I heard
Kobe,
in one of
out of
the previews,
curiosity.
I think they asked one of them.
Oh, wait, so it's like from the devs too that it's just 15 to 20?
I swear I heard that in one of the previews. Like, one of the guys that were playing, they're like, I asked the devs, or he was like, this game is supposed to only be 10 to 15 hours, or 15 to 20 hours long. I'm like, oh,
I wonder if
okay.
that
Well, I
I
mean, he's
wonder
the
if
one
that
that played it.
includes the I wonder
That
if that
might just be
includes like
main
side
story.
yeah, because that would be like
Because they
Spider-Man
played the
length.
whole, yeah, but I mean, they played the whole Harley Quinn side mission in the preview.
They did?
So, I mean,
I thought they
yeah,
said they
that's
had to
what they
jump
finished that
ahead.
shit.
I thought they said they had to jump, like they
I think
started
maybe
it and
maybe they
then
didn't do the middle part. Yeah, they
yeah.
did the beginning and then they finished it with the end, but I mean, they still
Hmm.
like finished the side mission. So, like, is that middle part just super like fast too, or
Well, just think about it
what's
this way,
really
because
missing?
it's well, yeah. I From what I remember from the previews, they said that they started at the beginning of the Harley Quinn mission and then had to jump to a save that was like further in the game to like do the boss fight with her. So I don't know how much is in the middle, but
Oh,
even think about this. Like most of them were saying that they'd played for like 2.5 to 3 hours. So if each side mission is
mm,
like 2 hours long, I mean, there were Arkham side missions that were like one hit KOs that took 5 minutes to beat. So like Kobe, I was curious.
no, yeah, I get
Marcel
that.
and I touched on this. In terms of villains, what do you think of the revealed villains so far? Do you think that they're lackluster as well, or are you impressed with the lineup?
Nah, I'm not impressed. I mean, it's just it's a little uninspired, I think. We're using a lot of the villains that we have seen in prior games, and I would have really liked to. Obviously, Court of Owls is a new villain group, obviously, but um, yeah, Batman's rogues gallery is just so expansive and it's so varied that um, I don't even know exactly who I would want to see in here that's not. But yeah, I mean, am I really like super excited for
Oh, by
Clayface?
the
Not really.
way, they confirmed Joker's dead. They confirmed he's
Dang.
dead. Like, somebody in the previews were like, Joker's dead. I'm like, really? So all the major big players are all dead. That's uninspired too. It's just, oh, let's just kill them off. Like, there's no like interesting way to get rid of them.
Well, and again, going back to this like canceled Damian Wayne Batman game that, as we discussed, has heavily influenced what this game ended up being. I get that to some extent, but one thing that was really cool about that game is that they had like these really, really obscure, weird villains. Now, the one that I would say probably is the coolest is Professor Pig. That he's heavily involved. That's pretty cool because we didn't get to see a whole lot of him in the Arkham games. Man Bat again, they kill him at the beginning. A little disappointing. Would like to see more of him. And yeah, Clayface, whatever. Mr. Freeze. Maybe, but Mr. Freeze again was done. He's been done so well so many times from the animated series to the Arkham games that part of me wonders how much they can actually do here that's better than what has been done
He's
in
a
the past.
giant spider now. He's a giant
Yeah.
spider now. Isn't
Yeah.
that fun? Isn't that interesting? He's a giant spider.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do the Judge. That was the Two-Face persona from.
Yeah.
That's who I'd put in, but
No,
I
I
doubt
want
that
them to
would be
do
the
the
case.
old ass white rabbit. The old ass white rabbit with the saggy
Grandma
face.
White Rabbit.
Yes, dude, and running around beating her ass as like Batgirl or something. That'd be so fun.
That actually would be badass, to be honest.
I feel like
yeah,
Kite Man
I don't
would have been
know.
a fun one for Nightwing, for like a Nightwing glider sled mission.
Right. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about the villains, though.
I think
I think
think
they're
yeah.
uninspired.
I'm interested in some of them. Like you mentioned, I think it will be cool if there's more to Man Bat than we see at the very beginning there. I'm interested in what they're doing with the Court of Owls, of course. I think the thing with the Court of Owls is like, I think that they really were anticipating the Court of Owls being enough to carry the game. And I think that could be true based on how they're handled. But with that being said, like, I mean, we've been talking about a Court of Owls Batman game since 2016. So I think that it's kind of lost its like originality at this point. Like it's something where even though we haven't played the game, it's been talked about for so long that I kind of already feel like I've gotten the like internet culture surrounding like what that would be and what it would entail. And it's kind of the same way that like the militia of Arkham Knight, like that, there's no way that can carry the whole game. It's like, yeah, it's a cool aspect to that game, but I don't know. I like the Court of Owls has so many like individuals that are part of it, but like it still kind of only counts as one rogue out of the gallery. And I don't know. I just like to see more.
What I think they did was, you remember those logos that they revealed? Like they were showing the multiple logos that might have been like multiple factions for the groups and the villains.
Yeah.
What I think they realized is that a few of them, no spoilers involved, but they could have been spoilers for the game, and they're like, "Oh shit, we can't reveal those. That reveals too much of the story." And then they backed out last minute, and then they're like, "Fuck, shit, what do we do for this marketing? What do we do?
Okay,
What do we do?" And
it
they just started
does seem
releasing
like they've.
gameplay and shit.
I can agree that it seems like they've switched gears for the marketing about 3 times, because it's like, yeah, they did the logos and it was like capture the night hashtag, and then it's like they went quiet for a year, and then they came back and it was like, we're going to reveal all the factions slowly. And then like they scratched that.
Yep.
They've shown us the Court of Owls, and then it's like, here's a few other cool villains that are in the game. Enjoy. And then yeah, so I don't know, like, and that's, I think, why it's been so hard for even people who've played some of the game to really gauge what it is. Because again, like with Spider-Man, when they did previews for that, it was like, yeah, I remember like, the people coming back being like, yeah, like got to fight Shocker, got to like go through the art museum mission, got to like see Peter and MJ's dynamic, got, like, even though don't know any of the spoilers of the game, it's like, yeah, I can tell you like what the story was feeling like, and yep, it felt well paced, and we just don't have any intel at all on like what happens in the story, or like, I don't know, it's so bizarre. Like the way that I kind of did an analogy in the last Nightcast episode with Marcel was I said it would kind of be like if they marketed Spider-Man based on like, yeah, you can dress like punk Spider-Man and use his electric guitar. Isn't that cool? And then like don't really show his web swinging and don't really show the story, but like, just show like, oh yeah, there's a Tombstone side mission, like we wouldn't get enough of an idea to know if the game is even good. And I think that's where Gotham Knights is.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like based off of even Suicide Squad's trailers, we know more about that main story and seeing
Yeah.
more of like fun little story beats. We know like all of not well, we don't even know all of the villains, but we know like all the Justice League members that we might fight. But in this game, it's like it's been a mystery until like 7 months ago. And the
Yeah.
game has been marketed since like 2019. And that whole factions thing that they did was what they did to reveal the game. They were teasing those faction logos as part of the reveal for during like Batman Day when they were about to do the reveal at Fandom. And they just completely scrapped that for like no reason. And it's just so shocking that they've done that about 3 different times for the marketing. So honestly, I am confused about what the main story is, but I really hope it's good. I hope what they have is like really interesting for the Court of Owls and whatever
Yeah.
other villain that they have introduced within that, because that's I feel like that's the only thing that's gonna save this game. And they haven't shown any of it, which could be really nice because it could be just completely all shocking. But at the same time, it's like we don't really know.
I think, though, again, to your point, that we know so little about the story, which could actually be a very positive thing because this game is going to
Mhm.
live or die by positive word of mouth. It just is. In terms of the concoction of dynamics that the game has going for it, from the villains to the heroes in the game to the plot more broadly. They're fighting with Court of Owls, obviously like a new villain group that doesn't have a lot of hardcore fans, like the Joker. Um, it's Batman sidekicks who are not nearly as beloved on the mass scale as Batman. It's developed by a studio with less credibility than other studios. So what this game is banking on is positive word of mouth. And the Arkham games, when they came out, they got like all 9s out of 10s. I would be shocked if this game gets that high in terms of a rating. But if there's some secrets and wild cards that they have up their sleeve to get the type of positive buzz where it's, think about The Last of Us 2 and when that game came out, and there was so much buzz around it because it wasn't even like people were saying the game is great. In fact, half of the people were saying it was shit and that it was, they hated it. But everybody was talking about it. Everybody was debating it on Twitter. Everybody was going back and forth. It was like, I can't believe they did this, can't believe they did that, whatever. And this game is banking on something similar, is that I think that they have to bank on there's some wild card in the story, something that's going to incite a lot of debate and frankly piss some fans off and excite some fans, and some twists and turns that we haven't revealed yet, to get that positive word of mouth. Where, again, I don't even think it has to be necessarily positive, but it's more just like, oh my gosh, have you played Gotham Knights? And the more that people are asking their friends that question, hey, have you played Gotham Knights? That's the better they fare from a marketing perspective. If the reviews are all, oh, this game's a 7 out of 10, it's kind of what we expected. The story pretty much plays out exactly as you would have thought. And all the villains that you see are in the trailers, and that's kind of that. Then I do think that they're in a little bit of trouble from a marketing perspective. So that's really where I stand on the game, is that I want to see what surprises they have in store for us with the story. Because again, I'm perfectly fine to play a game that has average gameplay. Whether it's a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 in terms of gameplay, I'd probably give it like a 7 from what I'm seeing. If the story is fantastic, it can easily compensate for that and pull it up to a 9 out of a 10 game. And you frankly never know. You never know if this game, for instance, look at Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
That game had a really compelling story, and everybody said, you know what? The gameplay wasn't that incredible in that game, objectively speaking. But you know what? The story is so moving. These character dynamics are really compelling in the game, much more so than an average superhero video game. So that game got like all 8s and 9s. And that's something that could happen here if they really pull off the dynamics between the 4 heroes in the game. You might actually see critics give it favorable reviews.
Like
Yeah.
I'm saying, they need to chop up Bruce Wayne in the first 5 minutes of the game and boom.
Well, dude, but they did that in Arkham Knight too, where they're like, first scene, burn the Joker alive, and then I feel like that would
Yeah.
just
This
be
is how
it would
Batman
be like a
died.
false flag,
Kind of. I feel like it would be, but at the same time, like if they give you control of Batman, like while he's just Batman, and you gotta do Batman shit for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then they rip that shit right underneath you.
Dude,
That'd feel
that would be
nice.
great. Imagine if the opening gameplay is, they said it's that 15 minutes, but that would be cool if the game is like think of like GTA, the prologue with the bank robbery, in
Mm.
GTA 5, like something like that would be really cool where you play as Batman.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of like the Last of Us, where you play as Sarah, and
Yeah,
then
that too.
bam,
Yeah,
she gets
right.
shot. We just need
Right.
Bruce Wayne to get killed right in front of us, and I don't mean like, oh, Bruce Wayne, no, don't walk into the building, and then you walk in and it explodes. And then like it's just like, Bruce Wayne, we just only found your mask, and that's it. And then they.
No, the way that they've
But
got to do it is
I feel like they're probably going to murk him.
they've got to have Bruce Wayne walk into a building and then have like a police officer walk out, and it's the same character model just with a police hat, and he's like, your friend died in there. It's like, you look really familiar.
It's
And
gonna be
tear off the
interesting how
fake
they do
mustache
the
at
no
the end.
Batman thing.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing that I think is really hard about okay, I think now that I think about it, pretty much every superhero game except for Guardians and I guess Avengers, but that game had its own problems. But I think that pretty much every big AAA like open world superhero game, so Arkham Knight, Spider-Man PS4, even to a degree Miles Morales, all of them have had this marketing that is like, who's the main villain, or ooh, what's the
Yeah.
mystery? And the thing is, like, I think plot twists work best when you're not expecting them. And so like with Arkham Knight, then the whole story of Arkham Knight actually kind of hurt itself because it's so tailored around who's the Arkham Knight that then when you replay that game, it's like kind of boring because you're just going from red herring to red herring, like, okay, I know that it's not
Right.
over here. And then like even with Spider-Man, it was like the marketing was so like, oh yeah, we're not going to tell you who the main villain is. And then within 20 minutes it's like, oh, so it's Doc Ock. Cool. Like but what did the marketing really gain from us not knowing that Doc Ock was in it? Like, and I
Well, but
think
let me
that
ask you this, Jake.
yeah,
Did The Last of Us 2 not benefit from the plot twist that's in that game that was not hinted at in the marketing at all?
I think that one was a little bit different in the sense that it happens very early on,
That's
and then
fair.
and the
That's
game the
fair.
game isn't built around like what Joel died. I mean it is, but not in the sense of pacing. Like it happens very
I
early on,
see.
and then
Yeah,
the
the
game
big
is like
reveal
yeah
in Arkham Knight is Jason Todd's identity, and that comes
yeah
like that's like the climax of the game. And you're right, when you're replaying it like in the first hour where Batman has those conversations with Arkham, he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "You'll
yeah.
find out soon enough." It's like, yeah, when you're replaying that, you're like, "Okay, this is
Well,
dumb."
and then you look at like Arkham Origins and Arkham City, and those both had plots with like Arkham Origins. Some people weren't happy that Black Mask was Joker again, but I guarantee if that game was coming out like if that was coming out instead of Gotham Knights, like let's say that the next upcoming game was like, oh, it's an Arkham prequel. The Rocksteady trilogy happened first. We're making Arkham Origins, and so that we're getting Arkham Origins. Let's say then like the entire marketing campaign would be built to like, ooh, Roman Sionis isn't Black Mask. Who is it? Who could it be? And
Yeah.
then like Arkham City, it would be like, who's behind Arkham City? What's going like it's not, is it Hugo Strange? Is it someone else? And then it would get leaked out like, oh, it's Ra's al Ghul. And then the developers would be all in a panic, like, but then
See,
the other thing
that's a
the
problem though with The
yeah,
Last of Us and with all these other games is
yeah.
that even with this game right now, the ending is being leaked. Like this is a huge like plot twists that are being leaked out there. The
Mm-hmm.
Last of Us has done that, and I'm sure that I mean it's hard to even say that Arkham City did that. I can't really I was like 11 when that game came out. But I doubt that people were like, "Oh, Ra's al Ghul is a part of Protocol of
Well,
10, and he's like the leader," because that was a pretty big plot twist that nobody really saw coming unless like you're really paying attention
well, and
realistically.
that's
But
kind of my point with it too, is that it's like with the plot twists, like the problem with the leaks, like you can tell the developers are really not happy about the Gotham Knights leaks. And, no developer's happy about leaks. I get it. But the problem is, my guess is the game's story probably lives and dies on that plot twist. Kind of like how in Arkham Knight, the entire game leading up to the Jason Todd reveal is about who is the Arkham Knight. With Spider-Man, it was all building up to like, what's going to happen with Dr. Octavius. Whereas like with Arkham City, yes, there's a plot twist, but there's enough going on before that. And it's like, the story isn't like Batman is investigating Protocol 10, but he's like,
I forgot the
he's,
big twist is also Joker dies as well. I'm kind of
yeah,
stupid about that. I don't know if that ever even got leaked, but I know that Joker, when he was in Arkham Knight, I know that got leaked right before the game came out.
yeah, it
So,
did.
these things always happen, and there's no way to avoid them. And the only way to avoid them is kind of not making your story like, all transparent and making it like everybody should know it, but you should at least be a little bit more open to what the story pertains, so people are
Like
less inclined to try to
when did
leak
the
it.
Joel death get leaked?
I think
Like
it
a
was,
few weeks before.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was, yeah.
2 weeks before, and
So
everybody
wait, the
was making
ending of
memes.
this
Like, I
game,
saw Abby, and
and
I'm like, "Who
again,
the fuck is this?"
I have intentionally not looked because
Yeah.
all I saw was that Degenerate J got hit for doing
Yeah.
some video.
See, I don't even
on,
know if it's the ending. That's the thing. Is that I'm completely in the
but
like,
there's like a
I
big
have no idea.
twist or plot moment that's been leaked. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big flip. Like, and I have people saying that they haven't seen it yet, and they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know what it is. This guy can be talking about completely anything." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it could be really anything." But I think
Yeah.
that the big plot twist that a lot of people are most expecting and are wondering about, like, that can't be leaked, and that's problems for WB Montreal if it ever does.
Yeah, it's a big like it's like the thing that got leaked is like, again, without getting into like even hinting at what it is, it's just like it would be the equivalent of like yeah, like learning that, I don't know, like it's a big one. It would be like learning before The Last of Us comes out that like um Ellie is immune, but Joel refuses to like let them operate on her. Like it kind of, I think it's something that impacts the entire story, and it's going to be something the entire story is building up to. And now, like everyone who knows it, I think that there's going to be a lot of the story that now feels kind of boring by comparison because it's leading up to something that many already know now.
But I also think it could be a really good twist too. Like, the way
Yeah,
I'm looking at it, like, honestly, I don't even think it's going to be like something that a lot of people are hating. I think it's just going to be a twist that a lot of people are conflicted on, and it, like, just having it leak in general just sucks. Like,
yeah.
people knowing about it already. Like, I see people everywhere saying that they know what's happening, and I'm like, well, I guess, like, what then what's the point of really, you know, like, we already
You
kind of know
know,
what the story is in many ways because of what's happening.
this is so it's such a tricky thing because by no means am I taking WB's side, but I do understand them actually striking videos where people talk about it.
Well, it's more than just talking about it
No,
too.
yeah.
I want to let you finish, but here's the thing, and I'm not trying to like diss on any of my friends who've gotten struck, because like I'm friends with a lot of these content creators. However, many, like all the ones that got struck that I saw, used like legitimate footage from the art book that shows like the screenshots of the spoiler. And so it's like it's a little bit more than just talking about it broadly. It's like they're like showing the like literal photos of the plot twist itself.
Yeah, and I mean
Yeah. Well,
it's
what I did is
embargoed.
I
It's
used it in
under
the thumbnail. I used it in the thumbnail and I blurred the shit out of it so they can't really tell what it was. And like that's the only thing I use. And I use, previous footage that I didn't even really mention the leak. So there's ways to get around it. And definitely there are embargoes that you shouldn't be looking at. And it's like, whoever, I don't even know how the hell somebody ever even got the art book and why they would put that in the art book, in my opinion, if they want to keep it a secret. It seems like that was pretty stupid. So either it's fake or it's a legitimate leak, and WB was stupid for putting that twist in the goddamn art book. That's all.
Yeah, often with these things, it's pretty unlikely that it's fake. I mean, it's kind of like I remember with Joel, everybody was saying, oh, maybe it's fake, maybe it's, all that, and it's like, I don't know, like 2 weeks before the game drops, it's probably not fake. It's probably real.
Right.
Well, and especially when
I'm
it's
not
like a
saying that
Naughty Dog quality game too. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's fake, but
No.
for
I get you. Yeah.
copyright reasons, allegedly it could be fake, but most likely, I just think that if they wanted to hide that fact, the twist, and they knew that things would get leaked. It's crazy because I think the art book was already kind of leaked like a few months ago, and they used some of that footage in the villain trailer that they dropped with the statue of Jim Gordon and Renee Montoya and Batgirl. Like that scene, it was literally leaked like a month prior to that trailer dropping. So I don't know
True.
if that's from the same thing and it just waited a little bit to release that, the leak, but like they should have seen that coming. They really should have seen that coming.
So the question is, again, I don't want to say what the leak is because I actually don't know, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers for the game because
Yeah,
that's the
no,
unfortunate thing
I
about
get you.
being a YouTuber for a game is like you like know everything about it before it comes out, especially this day and age with all the
Mhm.
leaks. But do you feel like the twist will make people more excited for the game?
Yes.
It will for sure.
Right. So, I don't know. Again, I do think that you know what? This is a crazy idea. If I'm them, drop the game early.
Yeah.
Look, if this is like
Yeah, dropping the red.
the game
I
is
was
already
thinking that
loaded.
last
It's
night.
already
Yeah.
loaded up. It's loaded up that you can download it right now and you can have the game on your hard drive. The only thing that you can't do is actually launch the app and actually play it. But the game as it is in its
I'm
exact
32
form,
gigabytes right now.
it's gone gold. It's on the hard drive. Fuck it. If people are going to start leaking the game, then just release it. Release it early. Now, of
Yeah, I
course,
mean, they
what I'm
bumped it
saying
down
is like
4 days.
completely unprecedented in the history of video games and has like never been done that I'm aware of. And because obviously in any marketer, the marketing department would lose their fucking mind if they were told that the game is dropping early. Because it would like screw off all their like paid budgets and just like screw off everything. But I don't know, man. That's a big deal. And I don't even know what it is, but
It
even
is.
just the fact that there's any spoilers getting out.
Yeah, it's a story thing that they didn't want out, and obviously they didn't want it out when they stopped doing the factions trailer. And there's just a few things that they didn't want leaked or want, public until the game came out, and obviously they would have shown it if they did. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and I think that them doing these previews is a good way to kind of distract the public because I've seen a lot of people like, what are these leaks? Where are these leaks? But they're so fast with striking them down, and the fact that there's so many other videos, like every single day I see another video popping up like Gotham Knights preview, hands on. I'm like, what, another guy? And it's just even today I saw like
Yeah.
4 new ones. I'm like, damn. So those are overreaching any leak footage or any leak videos that are coming out, and of course they are striking ones that are showing them or at least discussing them within the video, like the actual leak itself, without like alluding to it. So it's a big deal, but I think that they're kind of playing it off right now until release, and I think they're doing a good job at it. So hopefully it
Yeah.
doesn't reach too far into the public, but we'll see.
Cool. Any other final thoughts that we wanted to give?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the game is like, I don't know. It's definitely in that interesting limbo state where I think everyone's just waiting for it to come out. The developers, the audience, everyone's just wanting to like, finally get their hands on this thing. We've waited for it for so long. So particularly the DC gaming community is really excited. But yeah, I think that kind of, looking at the previews, it sounds like I think that people are going to be pretty happy with what the game is. I am anticipating a kind of Guardians of the Galaxy style word of mouth experience when the game comes out. I think people are going to be happy with it. I'm really excited to play it. It looks really cool. I think I do feel bad for the people who worked so hard on the game for so long, and now to have the big twist spoiled, that's a bummer. But with that being said, I think that the journey getting there will still be really cool, and I can't wait to check it out.
I want to know when me and you, Kobe, and Jake, when are we gonna play fucking co-op together? That's my
Dude, day
question.
one. Day
Day
one.
one.
Yeah.
Day
Listen,
one.
bro,
Day
I'm gonna
freaking
be
one.
carrying
Alright.
you. That's all I'm saying.
Carrying me? What are you talking with? What pussy Batgirl, bro? Get out of here! I'm gonna be Red Hood.
Yeah, you're just gonna be rage spamming, hiding in a corner. That's so whack.
Rage, fuck you.
That's
He's my
what you're gonna be
spirit animal,
doing.
bro.
You're
I
gonna
got
be
this,
you're
bro.
gonna be sitting in a corner, like double hip firing, just spamming, range spamming, just like you do in Injustice. This
Yeah,
is just how
I-
you play in Injustice. You
Yeah.
sit back with Deathstroke, just range spam, but you're awful. Listen, I'm gonna carry you.
And you still can't beat me though. That's crazy though, because I'll carry you when we play. Jake, I know that you're probably gonna go for like Robin, huh?
I'm
Yeah,
actually
Jake does seem like a Robin guy.
I am excited to try Robin. I think I'm probably gonna, for my own playthrough, I'm probably gonna do Batgirl first.
Gotcha.
She seems to play the most like Arkham Batman. Looks fun. Yeah.
Marcel
I
will
heard
be
that they
hiding in a
might
corner,
be there's
range
like a
spamming.
Yeah.
I heard they might be doing a 4-player co-op potentially. They're kind of hiding it until release. That's like a rumor that's going around too, but that's nothing confirmed. And I really wish Dustin would come back and we could
Yeah.
fucking do 4-player co-op if they ever have it. That'd be so fun.
Dustin isn't coming back. If Dustin was on this podcast,
yeah.
he'd be like, "Game looks awful, trash, looks terrible,
He wouldn't
worst
say it that
game
fast.
ever."
And then he'll just leave for another 6 months. He'll just
Yeah,
leave for
yeah.
another
Then he would leave for 6 months. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he would come back to be like, "Suicide Squad, trash, game looks terrible."
No, I think he would like he likes Rocksteady. doesn't
Actually,
he?
yeah, he would like Rocksteady. He would like Suicide Squad because he would say the gameplay looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he would like
I don't
the
know.
game, but
Maybe
we'll see.
this discussion alone will be enough to summon him back, because maybe he's like so against, like maybe his opinion is so different. He'll have to come back to tell us what it really is.
Dude, there's no way he's
I
excited
feel
for
like,
this
yeah.
game. There's just zero way. He's
I kind of want
definitely.
to. I kind of want to talk to Dustin again, though, so I'm just going to say this. I have it on good authority. Dustin said that Gotham Knights looks like game of the year. He can't wait to play it. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so my final thoughts are, again, this game really, for me, hinges on the story. I want to play through the campaign. The gameplay, I already have leveled my expectations on it, that I think it looks good, not great, and I have come to terms with that. So, by no means am I going into the game expecting the best gameplay experience of my life. It does look a little clunky at times. It doesn't look quite as fluid as some of the other games, and but I guess the point I'm getting at is that's okay, because two things will sustain this game for me. One, co-op, like being able to play with you guys, will be a fun experience and keep me coming back in a way that the Arkham games didn't. Obviously, just being single player, so that's fun. And then the second thing is I'm really excited to play through the story, because even if it is only 15 hours, I mean, that's a 15-hour Bat Family story. The last time we got something that long was in the animated series decades ago. So to be honest, listen, we're DC fans. We're on the struggle bus. The thirst for content is real. I will take whatever content I can get. This is our first game in 8 years. So our next game isn't coming out until 2035. So I gotta enjoy this.
I get
Yeah.
you. No, yeah. I'm gonna enjoy it too. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be fun.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. I'll link down episodes 1 and 2 down in the description below, so you can see the first 2 episodes. Episode 4 will be coming soon. I hope you guys enjoyed once again, and also be sure to subscribe to Salvo and Irogen. Their channels will be linked down in the description below, so be sure to go subscribe to them and follow all their great Gotham Knights content. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast episode. Thank you all.